G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Azza Whitnell, this is Azza World Sport, and week 7 of the Premier League was a very tight week. Lots of draws, which shows just how competitive this league is and how tight everyone is together, even early on in the season. Now, even though there were a lot of draws, we're going to start with a win, and a big win for Tottenham Hotspur in what was the big game of the weekend. The top two meeting at White Hart Lane, Tottenham in second, Manchester City in first, and Tottenham ran out 2-0 winners at White Hart Lane, giving Pep Guardiola his first defeat of the season, thanks to an own goal from Alexander Kolarov, which was a bit of a blunder, and then a very well taken goal from Dele Alli after a beautiful through ball from Son. So, cracking result. I thought Spurs were very good for the win, put City under an awful lot of pressure. And even though Spurs had the likes of Dembele and Kane missing, it was City who really felt the effects of having players missing in the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, of course, and Nolito, because Fernandinho and Fernando together just didn't quite have the synergy that there have been in recent weeks for Manchester City. I think Fernandinho is the man for City to do the holding, but it wasn't until they put on Gundogan and you had Silva, Gundogan and Fernandinho in the middle that City actually looked like they had a bit more rhythm to their play. It was fairly dull from them, really, and because of it, they only really created the odd opening chance. Obviously, their best chance fell to Sergio Aguero. That hit the bar after taking a deflection and a good save from Lloris as well. But, you got to give Tottenham credit. They outplayed Manchester City. Good for the win. Now, I do feel that this is where we're really going to see what Pep Guardiola's Manchester City side are really made of. They've suffered their first defeat. And I know it sounds silly, but sometimes defeats can be a good thing. There's not going to be that incredible pressure put on them now. But it is, of course, all about how you respond to defeats. Now, Liverpool, when they had that early season blip against Burnley, they've responded in spectacular fashion, beaten some big teams along the way, and are looking very, very good. And speaking of Liverpool, now that we've kind of got the City-Spurs game out of the way, Liverpool continue with their winning run. Their fourth straight Premier League win. Away at Swansea, they picked up a 2-0 victory after falling behind. And I would have been interested to been a fly on the wall at half-time to see what Jurgen Klopp would have been saying to his players, because Liverpool were not good in the first half. And as much as everybody loves Klopp for being, a very good motivator, a very friendly, happy man, at the same time, I also wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. I mean, have you seen this face? That is not a good face. I mean, he is someone that you wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of. And I can imagine he probably would have laid into a few of his players at half-time, because Liverpool came out and they were a different team in the second half. And again, proved to be good for the win. Just because, Firmino obviously got them level, then James Milner slotted away another penalty. But in the dying moments, Van der Horn missed an absolute sitter from about 4 yards out. I'm still not quite sure how he missed it. But at the end of the day, Liverpool got the win. And now we get to see, how things are going to go after the international break. Obviously, international breaks can swing in one of two ways. They can either be a good break, bit of a distraction, teams come back, bit refreshed, and get ready to go and go on a decent run. But on the flip side of things, it can also have a negative effect. Look at what happened to Manchester United after the last international break. They won all their Premier League games in a row, came back after the international break, and they've struggled since. Speaking of Man United, they continue to struggle this week. I say struggle. This was actually their best performance of the season. Now, on another day, they could have won this game 8-2 or 8-1 or something crazy like that, because the chances they created and some of the football that they played were truly beautiful. They really were. The first minute, Pogba sliding through Ibrahimovic. Great save from the unknown goalkeeper, Grant. I mean, it really is amazing when you consider, I think this is only his second Premier League game, his away debut, but don't quote me on that. He might have already made his away debut, but just shows you how great he really was. And, a bit of experience can really go a long way, even in the Premier League. Pogba missed a couple of sitters, it just wasn't going in for Manchester United. But Stoke, hey, you could see it was coming. And I did think going into this weekend, United were either going to blow Stoke away or Stoke against the odds, because they've been bottom of the table. They haven't had a lot of luck go their way. They haven't been putting in great performances. I could see them getting a result. And Joe Allen was just on another planet compared to the other Stoke players. He was phenomenal and deserved the goal that he got. So good point for Stoke. Disappointing for Man United in terms of the result, but the performance was very, very positive. So I was quite surprised when I saw a lot of Man United fans on the fan forums, going in about passion and how it wasn't a good performance, because it was. it was just one of those days at the office where you couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. So, I think there's a lot of positives for Manchester United to take from that result, and they shouldn't really look into it too much. A lot of positives to take from the performance, but they shouldn't look into the result too much because two completely different things. But this international break could be good for them. It gives them a chance to get players like Mkhitaryan and Shaw back to full fitness, and then United have got some big games coming up. So over the next month, this is where we're really going to see how Manchester United's season is going to pan out, because they've got the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester City in the League Cup, all to come in relatively short space of time. So it's going to be awesome to watch some cracking games, very big games, all coming up one behind each other. Now on to another title contender in Arsenal, picking up a last gasp winner at Burnley. Now, for me, this is a kind of performance that champions put in, where they don't have the best game in the world, but they manage to grind out a result. And it's refreshing to see from an Arsene Wenger team, because it means that it's going to be even tighter this season than we may have originally thought it was. Obviously, Arsenal started off horrifically, not winning until the third week of the season. But they've got some momentum behind them now, and they're putting in some very, very good performances. And just quickly on Arsene Wenger, he's celebrating 20 years at Arsenal. Words can't even begin to describe how incredible that achievement is. I know he's had a lot of lows in the last decade or so. Obviously, Arsenal, aside from their FA Cup wins, have kind of cemented fourth spot, and there was always that running joke that Arsenal were just the fourth place team. But the way he's built Arsenal from what they were when he took over, the players that Arsene Wenger's created as well, he is without doubt one of the best managers the Premier League has ever seen. There is an argument for him being one of the best managers ever, but I think you've got to look at the fact that the last decade hasn't been overly successful as to why he might not make the top 10 managers ever. But let me know in your comments below, where do you rate Arsene Wenger as a Premier League manager, and where do you rate him amongst the greatest managers of all time? Let me know in your comments below. Now, talking about struggles, even though we're in the top half of the table still, Leicester City as champions seem to be struggling in the Premier League. It's not the best defence of their title ever. Certainly isn't how they would have wanted it to have gone to plan. Especially when you consider they're putting in such resolute performances in the Champions League and getting good results. It's a shame they can't replicate that in the Premier League. And Southampton, to their credit, should have come away with all 3 points, because they were very, very good against Leicester. And Southampton are really building some momentum, and if they can keep this up, they're going to be a potential surprise package, because, again, people had them pegged for relegation or a real struggle. Even a couple of weeks ago, I was saying it was going to be a tough season for them. But, Charlie Austin's in good form, and, yeah, they look a completely different team to the team that played a few weeks ago. So, who knows? Again, we'll see what happens after the international break, but they've had a good few weeks behind them. So, from a Southampton standpoint, they'll be hoping that they can continue this. Now moving on to a team getting back into form. Chelsea came away from Hull with a 2-0 victory, thanks to pretty much identical goals from Willian and Costa. They really needed this result after, they were beaten by Liverpool and Arsenal in consecutive weeks, and quite embarrassingly as well, they were second best in both of the games by quite a distance. So it was good for Chelsea to get back to winning ways. I think the international break could do them some good, whereas other teams it might have a bit of a negative effect. We're just going to have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, it certainly sounds like Chelsea are going to be dipping into the transfer market in January, because Conte is not convinced by his defence. They really miss John Terry. They really miss Kurt Zouma. And the second they get those guys back, that's when I feel we'll really start to see what Chelsea are made of. But it is a bit worrying that they're still relying on John Terry, when obviously he's getting on, to say the least. But good result for Chelsea. And Diego Costa, when he's in that kind of form, is a fantastic player to watch. He put in almost like the perfect performance for a striker at the weekend. The way he was creating, and of course the way he took his goals, it was brilliant to see. So, hopefully Costa can continue that side of his game and not the uglier side of his game as we go further on into the season. Everton and Crystal Palace drew 1-1 at Goodison Park. We saw two of the young Belgian strikers really going at each other in this game, obviously scoring a goal each. Is there anything Romelu Lukaku can't do? He scored a beautiful free kick, and then Christian Benteke equalised. Benteke settling into life at Palace fantastically. I wonder if he's going to be able to potentially push for a golden boot this season. I know that's going to be a big ask with the likes of Ibrahimovic, Kane, Costa, Aguero and Lukaku ahead of him. But, Palace seem to be a good fit for him. So I can definitely see him getting around 20 goals for them this season, which means I can see Palace, if they keep playing the way they're playing, getting a potential top half finish. So exciting for them. But Everton, they have consistency issues. If they're really going to challenge for Europe, they need to sort that out. I know it's early in Koeman's reign, but you would have hoped for a slightly better start to this, to this season. I know they had a dodgy season last season, so obviously anything is going to be better than last season for Everton. But again, it could be a team that could benefit from an international break. But yeah, Lukaku, what a player they've got in him. Nothing he can't do. I think he's actually scored more goals for his age, being 23, but again, he might be 24 now. He scored more goals by the age of 23 than Messi and Ronaldo had. So hopefully that's the most incredible omen you could possibly ask for Everton. But I just hope you guys can hold on to him in years to come, because he's very clearly a special talent. But we'll just have to wait and see. Now, speaking of special talents, Dimitri Payet is just a completely different level to anyone else at West Ham. I mean, if you haven't seen his goal, it's already arguably the goal of the season. It's going to take something pretty incredible to top what he did. I thought his Rabona assist the other week was sex on a football pitch. This goal was Messi-esque. It's something that we've only really seen Lionel Messi do properly over the coming years in the manner that Dimitri Payet did. But yeah, to take on 5 defenders the way that he did, with his team 1-0 down, wonderful solo goal, and that could be a goal that changes West Ham after the international break. I mean, I know that they drew with Middlesbrough, and I know there's still issues with the London Stadium and how they're playing, but I do think West Ham will turn it around because they've got too much quality in their team. So I'll be very shocked if in a few weeks' time they're still struggling the way that they are. But a good point for Borough on the road. They just need to pick up as many points as they can when they can. I don't think they're going to go down. But Borough fans, just enjoy the season. If you get good results at places like West Ham, where obviously they were playing really well last year, then obviously that's a bit of a bonus. But your big games are going to be against the likes of Burnley, Hull, Sunderland, etc. So we'll just have to wait and see how you guys do against them. We did see a really good game between Bournemouth and Watford, ending 2-2. Troy Deeney and Callum Wilson on the score sheet. It was great to see both of them on the score sheets. Troy Deeney's been a fantastic player for Watford over the years. Really proven that he's a top draw Premier League player. And again, I just wonder if there's one more step up for him. But he's loyal to Watford, and it's great to see. I would like to see him. I know it sounds a bit nuts because obviously he's playing for Watford. They're not contending for the Champions League. But there were rumours that Leicester made a bid for him in the summer. It would have been awesome to have seen him play in the Champions League, because I think he would have been a real handful for a lot of the continental teams and some of the bigger teams as well. He's got this grit and determination, and him and Vardy would have played so well together. But the partnership he has with Igalo is beautiful to watch. I know Igalo hasn't really been in amongst the goals at the moment, and that, but Deeney's a fantastic talisman, and honestly, I can't praise him enough. I just think he's great. So let me know if you think he deserves an England call-up. That's one thing that I'm interested by. What do a lot of people think about Troy Deeney in England? I think he deserves a shot. I think he puts in fantastic performances for Watford, not just from a goal-scoring perspective, but adding and bringing people into the game as well. Obviously, it's always going to be hard to get over the likes of Vardy and Kane and even Marcus Rashford with the way that he's playing. But to see him given a chance against someone like Malta or one of the lesser teams would be great, and it would really help. I think it would be a confidence boost for him as well to maybe take him to play to the next level in that sense. So let me know what you think in the comments below. One thing I do have to point out though is that miss from Jack Wilshere, hitting the post from about 5 yards out. Absolute sitter. Real shame, because obviously everyone wants to see Jack get off the score sheet and scoring some more goals, but hopefully he can kind of block that out and just carry on after the break when the Premier League returns. And then finally, we saw Sunderland scrape a 1-1 draw at home to West Brom. Patrick Van Aanholt coming off the bench to equalise with only 7 minutes to go. And again, it's another week where Sunderland haven't won, and they need to win soon. Otherwise, they're going to be in serious, serious trouble. I know that Stoke and West Ham are struggling, but when you look at their squads compared to Sunderland's, they've got much more quality. So I really am worried for Sunderland if it keeps going this way. But I also worry for Moyes as well, because he could have one of the shortest reigns in Premier League history if things carry on going the way they are. But that's the way it is. And of course, a decent draw for West Brom away from home. But as I said, I feel for West Brom. If they can make the Hawthorns a bit of a fortress, then they could have a decent season. And they'll put one or two surprise results in there as well, like they kind of did against West Ham the other week. But aside from that, was a fairly decent draw. Didn't really expect too much else from the game other than that. But that pretty much sums up all of the action from Week 7 of the Premier League. So please comment below. Let me know what were your main highlights from the weekend. What bits really stood out for you? Major talking points. Is there anything I've said that you disagree with? As I said, what do you make of Arsene Wenger's 20 years as Arsenal manager? Just leave all your thoughts below. Really looking forward to reading them. As always, I'm Azza Whitnell. You've been watching Azza TV. For all things wildlife, adventure and sport, then please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys again soon.